The Miami Hurricanes updated injury report gives you very good news right before a must-win game.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We made it! I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC and host of Postgame on the Hurricanes Radio Network. And thank you to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcasting network. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On this loaded episode, we're going to talk about the CFP scenarios. Now, we've spent a lot of time on the Miami versus Notre Dame debate with the head-to-head, but there's also some teams that are ranked between Notre Dame and Miami, a little fishy, and agendas will be exposed. We'll talk about Miami's keys on Saturday to beating the Hokies. None of these CFP scenarios matter if you don't beat Virginia Tech, and then if you don't beat Pittsburgh the following week, and you probably have to earn style points in both of those wins. So we will lay down the Miami versus Virginia Tech keys. I also want to mention there's an important Miami Hurricanes starter who, even though he participated in the senior day festivities, might actually be back next year, and this would be big. But as we head into this must-win game against Virginia Tech, where Miami's favored by 17.5 points on the road, you're getting very good news on the injury report. Now, sometimes with good news, it comes with some difficult decisions you have to make, right? When a player returns from injury and the guy that replaced them has been playing really well, how much playing time does the returning player get? Did they regain their starting job or not? These are good problems to have, okay? But if you look at Miami's updated injury report, the first two pieces of great news that you get, I scanned this thing, I combed it up and down, and Mark Fletcher, starting running back, who missed the past couple of games with injury, and CJ Daniels, who's been a starting receiver, has missed multiple games due to injury. Neither of them are listed on the injury report. Neither of them have any sort of injury designation, which matches up with what Cristobal has been saying over these past few days, that he thinks both of them are on track to return, and that appears like it is about to happen. Now, Fletcher, Miami's leading rusher this year, has been the starter in most every game he's played this season, 636 rushing yards and a team-high 9 touchdowns. Now, since Fletcher has been out, something we saw last week was hell of a game and really a revelation and an emergence of true freshman running back Girard Pringle. Went off for 117 yards. Pringle was getting to the outside, which is what every Miami fan wanted. Of his 17 carries, 13 of those went outside. Only 4 of those went into the A-gap, right? So I have to wonder. Now, I'll go on record with my prediction. Given that Girard Pringle is the hot hand right now, and he did everything last week to earn a second consecutive start, I could be wrong on this one, but I fully expect Girard Pringle to start again on Saturday against Virginia Tech, despite the return of Mark Fletcher. And also with Fletcher coming off a multi-game injury, a lot of times Miami's coaching staff likes to kind of ease guys back in. So I predict that Pringle is going to start even with Fletcher being back, but bottom line is, folks, who starts and who doesn't, all that really matters is the production of these guys when they get on the field and being able to ride the hot hand. Because Fletcher, to me, he's been really missed these last couple of, maybe missed more the week before last, because Pringle did some work last weekend. But I think the dynamic that you miss without Mark Fletcher is, Girard Pringle gives you the lightning. Now you've got your thunder back. Like, now you've got the guy back. We call Fletcher, put him on a stretcher Fletcher for a reason. His ability to run people over, his ability to generate yards after contact and wear down defenses is so important running behind a physical offensive line. And being able to have that multiple dynamic, having A running back like Girard Pringle, who's got the patience, the vision, and he's got that extra gear to get into the defensive secondary the way that he does, and now to be able to bring back the guy who does it absolutely best on the team overall between the tackles with Fletcher, it's going to give Miami's running back rotation just a multiple dynamic that I think is bad news for Virginia Tech to have to go up against a healthy Miami Hurricanes backfield. And I'm not forgetting about Marty Brown. Brown is still going to have an important role to play, especially in short yardage, and being able to rotate at least 3 guys. I don't know what, if anything, Jordan Lyle's workload is going to look like. He didn't play last week, and he's not looked like himself this season when he's played, but I would expect Girard Pringle, Mark Fletcher, and Marty Brown, and probably in that order, to be that running back rotation this week, and to have that healthy triumvirate of backs who all bring different characteristics to the table, I think is really big. And, you know, I had somebody ask me in our Locked On Canes Insiders chat if Fletcher is back and he doesn't start, would he be upset about that? Would that disrupt team chemistry? That ain't Mark Fletcher's MO. Fletcher is the most gracious guy on the team. If Girard Pringle starts over him, if that does happen tomorrow, Fletcher will be the first guy to congratulate Pringle and root for him when he's on the field. I wouldn't worry about that. Mark Fletcher may be the best teammate that I've ever covered at any level of sports since I've been in the media. So I wouldn't worry about that. And maybe Fletcher will start, but even if he doesn't, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time and he's going to have an impact. So that's running back. At receiver, folks, in getting C.J. Daniels back this week, you're getting someone who prior to his injury started every game this season when he was healthy. He's Miami's leading receiver when it comes to touchdowns with 6 on the year. He's now Miami's 3rd leading receiver yardage-wise because Keelan Marion's been very good the last couple weeks since CJ was out, and Marion has surpassed him in yardage. But, CJ Daniels was a top 2 receiver this year when he was healthy. And you're adding someone, and he's going to be taking some playing time away from a combination of, Dalen Upshaw, true freshman, who started last week. JoJo Trader started for him the week before. So he's going to take some playing time away from those guys. But I would hope Upshaw can still get on the field, as a rotational guy, because he's done some good stuff. With JoJo Trader, there have been ups and downs, but he did have that big 44-yard catch on the Malachi Toney throw last week. But having CJ Daniels back, folks, this is one of the best 3 receivers on your roster, along with Keelan Marion and Malachi Toney. He and Carson Beck have really good chemistry, and CJ is someone who, he's had some circus catches this year, has made some amazing plays, can be a deep threat. This is going to make your offense a lot better, and it's going to give Carson Beck more options to continue to play at a high level. So this is big. The other bits of good news on the injury report: O.J. Frederick, starting corner, starter when he was healthy. He's missed multiple games now with injury. He's listed as probable. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time Miami has used the probable designation all year. They've only used questionable and out prior to this. But with O.J. being probable, I think there's a good chance he plays. Now, Miami's defensive back room has been so deep. They've been able to step up, like a guy like Ethan O'Connor stepping up and playing really well when OJ's been out. Of course, Keontae Scott, who's your best overall DB, he's out for the season, but in his absence, Bryce Fitzgerald really stepped up last week. And then you've got other standouts in that defensive secondary. Zechariah Poyser at safety has been playing really well. Jacoby Thomas has been unbelievable at safety this year. And, of course, Xavier Lucas has been tremendous at corner this year. But if Miami can get O.J. Frederick back, will likely regain his starting job. And, he's been one of, going back to last year, one of the most important DBs in the ACC, certainly one of the best on Miami. And then the last bit on the injury report is, now usually with Miami, the questionable designation, I know technically questionable means 50-50. With Miami, it's more been if you're questionable, you're probably not going to play. But David Blay is upgraded to questionable. One of your best interior defensive linemen, Blay. I hope he plays. There's going to be a Friday night injury report tonight. Maybe he will further upgrade on that. But Blay as well, in his absence, Justin Scott, Dante Simpson especially, have played really well. But if David Blay can come back and play alongside Ahmad Moten and those other guys, especially going up against him, and we'll talk about Virginia Tech, but Virginia Tech is going to try to hurt you on the ground, right? That's a team that doesn't throw the football well, but they make their bones on the ground. The running game is what they're going to try to do. And we'll talk about Miami's keys. If you execute these 4 keys to the game, you're not only going to win, you're going to win comfortably. You want to keep it locked right here, my friends. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, Game Time is the only ticket app that I use. We love college football, the tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. But that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It is the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. And let me say this to any Miami fan who's going over to Blacksburg or going up to Blacksburg, or if you're maybe deciding to do that at the last minute, I'm looking at tickets right now starting at $4. And that includes the fees. Starting at $4 to see your Hurricanes in a must-win game against Virginia Tech. You can get those prices and maybe even will drop between now and Game Time on the Game Time app. Folks, honestly, it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than any other way I'd bought tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go! Download the Game Time app today. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen. So, all right, Miami has Virginia Tech on Saturday at noon. And my keys to the game, very simple, some of them more simple than others. We will start with key number 1. And I do believe Miami should win this game comfortably. And if they don't, I think that says a lot more about Miami than it says about Virginia Tech, because we have a pretty good idea who Virginia Tech is at this point. It's a team that, fired their head coach 3 games into the season for a reason. Their second leading receiver, Donovan Green, has left the team. So they're without one of their top options in the passing game. So key number 1 for me, Miami must protect the football. Miami has been top 15 nationally in turnover margin. So overall, the Hurricanes have been good, takeaways versus giveaways, but it's a very clear pattern. In the games that Miami has lost this year, Louisville, SMU, they lost the turnover margin in both of those games. So if you win the turnover margin, I don't think Virginia Tech has a chance. And Virginia Tech, for what it's worth, 109th nationally in turnover margin at a -5 on the year. So if Miami protects the football, they're probably winning this game, right? And, certainly Carson Beck has looked... he's had his, interception games this year through 4 of them against Louisville. So he's got that sort of turnover-prone reputation, but he's been taking care of the football lately. And when he's been on, he's been at his best. And, Shannon Dawson, something that Dawson said this week was, the offensive coordinator, that really since the SMU game, he has seen Carson Beck kind of reach a full understanding of the offense and the progression-based scheme that they use. And like Dawson said it kind of after the SMU game, he knew that Beck was going to catch fire and really start thriving with the offense. So I think Carson Beck has reached kind of an understanding and a confidence in the scheme that he maybe didn't have the early part of the season. So protecting the football is going to be key. Key number 2, I don't think I have to go into a long explanation for this one. Keep the damn penalties down. Right? I mean, some of it is in your control. Some of it... We'll see if Jerry Magallanes is assigned to the game tomorrow. That's the ACC ref that usually flags everything. But, even if he is, or assuming he's not, Miami needs to keep the mistakes down. They've been better the past couple of weeks when it comes to avoiding the false starts, the procedure penalties. Try to keep, the boneheaded, unsportsmanlike stuff to a minimum. Keep your penalties down. Now, Miami doesn't actually always have to win the penalty battle to win the game. They've only won the penalty battle once all year, and that was against Syracuse, but keep the penalties and the self-inflicted wounds down, all right? Key number 3, and this is when you get into what Virginia Tech does well. Shut the running game down. Offensively, running the football is the only thing the Hokies actually do well and can hurt you with. They are an ineffective passing offense. Kyron Drones, we know, is super talented. He's got a rocket arm. He hasn't had a lot of time to throw the football this year, Drones. His receiving core is in shambles, especially since Donovan Green left the team. They have been an ineffective passing offense. I believe Virginia Tech is so one-dimensional. Their only chance to score points offensively is if Miami struggles to stop the run. And when I talk about Virginia Tech's offensive line, they've not been very good. A lot of what the Hokies have been able to generate on the ground, and Kyron Drones, by the way, their quarterback is their second leading rusher, so Miami will have to contain him. Their leading rusher, Marcellus Hawkins, is having a pretty good season with 677 rushing yards, but they've done a lot of it after contact. So tackling is going to be important. I expect Miami to get penetration with their excellent defensive line against a pedestrian Virginia Tech offensive line, but not allowing Hawkins and Drones to break tackles is going to be really, really important. And again, I think Miami is going to be able to key in on the running game because Virginia Tech has been so ineffective throwing the football. I think they're 4th from last nationally in passing this year. It's been a really tough time throwing the ball. So with them being so one-dimensional, I think Miami's going to be able to key in on the run, and they're going to be able to limit Virginia Tech's offense from doing just about anything, so long as you're not giving them short fields with turnovers, is what I would say, going back to our first key of the game. And Miami's rushing defense this year is 3rd nationally. I mean, you saw them. I know that Notre Dame fans will tell you week 1 doesn't count. Week 1 was just an exhibition. But going back to week 1, Miami held Jeremiah Love, who's a Heisman candidate, to 33 rushing yards. Just last week, going up against a really good running back, Hollywood Smothers, Miami held him to -2 yards. 3rd rushing defense in the country. Miami's been very good there. You're going to have to limit Virginia Tech's rushing offense because that's really the only way they can hurt you. Key number 4, keep your offense creative and keep making explosive plays. This is something Miami's been a lot better at these past couple of weeks. The way they've gotten Malachi Toney more involved with gadget plays and trick plays, having Girard Pringle break explosive games through the running game. Keelan Marion has become an explosive weapon at receiver, putting together some big grabs each and every week. Keep your offense making explosive plays because, folks, style points are clearly going to matter when it comes to impressing the committee. Virginia Tech has the 4th worst PFF coverage grade in all of FBS football. So Miami should be able to throw the football against them. Now, kind of a sidebar on that key is something the Hokies have done well is generate pressure from their defensive line, especially the interior of their defensive line. So Miami's offensive line, which has actually been the best nationally in keeping a clean pocket for Carson Beck, they've allowed pressure on only 16.5% of his dropbacks. Miami's offensive line is going to have to play to that standard because if there's anywhere that Virginia Tech could kind of blow up Miami's offense, it's creating pressure. And we know that Carson Beck, sometimes when he's under pressure, doesn't make the best decisions. So keeping his pocket clean is going to be big because Virginia Tech, the only thing that they do well on offense is run the football. The only thing that they do well on defense is generate some pressure from a pretty good defensive line. So Miami's offensive line is going to have to be up to that task, okay? So here's something from player availability this week that I find very encouraging as we look towards the future. So we know Miami's losing some really important players at the line of scrimmage, right? Defensively, Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, they're going to be off to the NFL. Miami's got good players to replace them at edge. You've got some young, deep players in the pipeline. Same thing at offensive line. I mean, we know We're going to lose Francis Mauigoa to the NFL, right tackle, but, hopefully Jackson Cantwell is a true freshman, is going to be able to step right in there. You're going to lose right guard Inez Cooper to the NFL, and, we had all kind of assumed, just based on the fact that he's a senior, that we're going to lose starting left tackle Markel Bell to the NFL. Not so fast, my friends. So Markel, his situation, even though he walked on senior day and he's technically a senior, because of the new rules about junior college, Markel Bell is able to apply for an extra year because he started his career at the junior college level. So Markel could play another season at Miami. So I think the question is going to be, and when he spoke to reporters this week, he said he was undecided. He said, quote, "I really haven't decided if I'm going to return next year. I'm just going in like it's my last year. I want to focus on it. I went into this year and I want to give my all this year, regardless if I have an extra year. I want to give my all these last 2 guaranteed games." Now, the decision, it's probably going to come down to what sort of draft grades he gets. Admittedly, I need to talk to some personnel people because I do have a couple of contacts that I haven't been able to get a hold of yet. But just in my searches of various draft databases so far, I don't have a great handle on where Markel Bell is graded, but I don't really have anything that indicates to me he's a top 4 round draft pick at this point. So if his decision comes down to, can I improve my draft stock drastically by playing one more season as a starting left tackle at a Power 4 program, I think the answer to that question is probably going to be yes. I think that answer, and you remember, Markel got a good amount of starts last year, but this year, 2025, was his first as a full-time offensive tackle starter in the Power 4. So if his draft grades are going to come back 5th, 6th, 7th round, something like that, I think he can absolutely benefit from playing another year as a starting left tackle at Miami. That's obviously, I don't have that data enough of that data to make that decision for him. So I'm not Big Bell. If you're watching this, don't think Donno's trying to bully you into playing another season. You do whatever's best for you, my man. But I will say, I think there is an opportunity that Markel Bell might ultimately decide that playing an extra year at Miami is the right move for his career. And if that does come to pass, that's going to be nice to be able to have your left tackle back. And, I know we all want to see Samson Okunlola play. He could very well be your starting left guard next year, still get on the field plenty. And Jackson Cantwell could be your starting right tackle year 1, the way that CeCe Mauigoa was a few years ago. So I'm going to be anxiously awaiting what happens long-term with Markel Bell. Now, the College Football Playoff Committee's manipulation of the rankings is being exposed day by day. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Folks, we're certainly not done yet with FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the season or you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Before we move on to this really great tweet about the college football playoff rankings manipulation, let me give you my pick for Miami at Virginia Tech. Keeping in mind there is no scenario for Miami to reach the college football playoff and certainly no scenario to win the ACC without winning this game at high noon tomorrow in what's going to be a kind of chilly Blacksburg. I think it's going to be a lot colder in Pittsburgh the following week. I don't expect the weather to be a huge factor at noon tomorrow. But Miami, I mentioned. Virginia Tech, if you're able to limit and shut down their running game, their offense can't hurt you. if you protect your quarterback, I don't believe their defense can stop the Hurricanes. I've got Miami winning this game on Saturday, 38-6. I have them keeping the Hokies out of the end zone, and I have Miami hopefully scoring enough to give the committee a sign that, hey, that offense is clicking now. 3 straight games. They're more consistent. Maybe Miami leapfrogs a team or two next week in the CFP rankings, but I think Pittsburgh on paper is going to be a lot tougher the following week, especially if Desmond Reed plays. He's not going to play against Georgia Tech tomorrow. I think he's saving his legs for Miami, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I think the Hurricanes get a comfortable 38-6 win against the Hokies. Now, so this X account, CFB Kings, sent out a really illuminating post this morning. Now, CFB Kings definitely seems to have kind of an axe to grind with the SEC bias, and I'm all for that. If that's your agenda, I'm all for that. So CFB Kings pointed this out, and he's 100% right about this, how, some of the teams that are ranked like 23, 24, 25 might only be ranked in order to make Alabama's strength of schedule look better. So he says, okay, here's how the rankings are manipulated with teams like Tennessee and Missouri. He notes the Alabama Crimson Tide are ranked number 10. BYU is ranked number 11. Miami is ranked number 13. Then he quotes, Alabama has to stay ranked because of their 4 ranked wins. He notes half of Alabama's 4 ranked wins are against Tennessee and Missouri. Those 2 teams, Tennessee and Mizzou, have a combined 0-6 record versus ranked opponents and have beaten 0 bowl-eligible teams. That's crazy. He notes, let's simply replace Tennessee with a team like 7-3 Louisville, who beat number 13 Miami, Pitt, and James Madison, and replace Missouri with a team like 7-3 Arizona, who just beat number 25 Cincinnati on the road last week. He says if you make those 2 little changes, Alabama suddenly now just has 2 ranked wins. With Arizona ranked, BYU now also has 2 ranked wins. With Louisville ranked, Miami's loss to them is no longer a horrible unranked team. So now you would have 8-2 Alabama with 2 ranked wins, 9-1 BYU with 2 ranked wins, and 8-2 Miami with a top 10 win over Notre Dame. He says BYU clearly jumps Alabama. Then you'd have to take into consideration Miami beat Florida State while Alabama lost to Florida State by 14. And Miami likely jumps Alabama too, with just a small change to number 20 and number 22, taking out Tennessee and Missouri, who have 0 wins over bowl-eligible teams, and replacing them with Louisville and Arizona, who have 5 wins over bowl-eligible teams. The resumes and CFP cases of teams ranked number 10 to number 13 change drastically. And that, folks, goes to show you how preseason SEC rankings end up distorting reality and distorting the pool, where, well, hey, in the SEC, Alabama's got wins against number 20 and number 22, so by God, they got to be in the top 10. Well, hold on, why? Why are those teams ranked number 20 and number 22 when there are teams that are not ranked that probably deserve it more than they do? That's how you manipulate the whole SEC narrative. So I thought that was a great piece that was brought to light there by CFB Kings, that, Alabama gets to tout. We got four wins against ranked teams when 2 of them haven't beaten a bowl-eligible team all year. It's insane, really. Got a couple questions here from the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. Firefighter Kane wants to know, how important will style points be moving forward with our remaining games and the consideration of the committee? I think at this point, style points are everything. The committee has already shown you that they are willing to leapfrog Miami in front of teams without those teams suffering new losses, right? 2 weeks ago, Miami leapfrogged Georgia Tech. This week, Miami leapfrogged Vanderbilt. So that tells you, like, the data points that can change there are Miami earns style points. They earned plenty of style points against NC State. By the way, Miami was better against NC State than Notre Dame was, just so we're clear on that, okay? And Miami did well enough against Syracuse the previous week that they have leapfrog teams. So I think style points are super important. we talked about the ranking of Alabama and BYU. I still can't figure out why Utah is ranked at number 12, other than it's good to have Utah there because it creates more of a buffer between Miami and Notre Dame. Utah's resume is not better than Miami's with 2 losses. The only top 25 team that Utah beat is Arizona State, and that was without their star quarterback. And yeah, they lost. It's a good loss to Texas Tech. Not if you watch the game, it wasn't. They got blown out by 24 against Texas Tech. So yeah, they lost to a great team, but they looked awful doing it. So yeah, style points, to answer your question, are important. Miami has to beat up on Virginia Tech by as much as you possibly can. And, Pittsburgh's going to be a tough game, but, look as impressive as you can in that one. That's the only way. We get a question from Andy who says, hey, if the logo holds so much weight, why so much hate? Any chance of moving conferences in the near future? Well, in terms of moving conferences, I think by the year 2031, anybody who wants to leave the ACC is going to have a chance to do so because the buyout gets affordable in 5-6 years, but not any sooner than that. I don't think you can leave the ACC. In terms of the the logo carries weight, but does it carry as much weight as the Notre Dame logo? No. Does it carry as much weight as the Alabama logo? No. So you're always going to see teams like that, get favored over Miami when you talk about logos carrying weight. We get a question from my guy BP who says, hey, William Padron was a solid guest and I enjoyed him. Shout out to Will from 305 Sports Now. BP says, when can we expect some other solid guests like Gio Milian, Steve Kim, and maybe the resurgence of Brad Tejeda back on the show? I could already tell you, Gio's coming on Monday. I actually invited Gio today, but he couldn't make it today. He's going to come on the show Monday. I've been meaning to reach out to Steve Kim. I'm a big fan of his work. I think I met him once. Really good guy, so I'll work on that one. And Brad Tejeda, Brad took some time off from media, but he is going to be coming back at some point, and he's a good friend of mine, so we're going to connect. I don't know if that's weeks from now or months from now, but we're going to reconnect with Brad. We're reconnecting with Gio in a few days. And Steve Kim, you're on the clock, man. I owe you a message and a call. So we'll get all that sorted out for you guys. Thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. We'll talk to you again on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the #1 Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.